on March 25th, we had a male caller call 911, request the police, and hang up. And that's what the Austin Police Department responded to. We had 3 officers make the initial response to this scene. One was a rookie police officer that was in her training phase with a field training officer, and then there was a backup officer that responded as well. These officers arrived at the residence, again, in the 5500 block of Ponciana Drive. It's a duplex. They initially went to one side. Knocking on the door, they made contact with the residents on that side, who stated that they did not call 911. They were unable to make contact. They'd been on scene for about 10 minutes, and as they were walking off of the porch, shots were fired from inside that residence, and one of those gunshots struck one of our officers in his arm. The officers realized that they were coming under gunfire from inside the residence, so all 3 officers immediately evacuated the front area of that house, jumping a fence. A short while later, the SWAT team was paged out because we recognized that we had a barricaded subject who had in fact shot one of our officers. We had a second officer who was on the scene who came up, again making the initial approach to the residence, came up and said that he had been injured to some extent as well, and he had to self-extricate himself from that scene also. And over the course of the next 2 hours, there were 6 instances noted over the CAD call and the radio transmissions where officers that had surrounded the residence were reporting that they heard additional gunshots coming from inside the residence. Specifically at 1:16 a.m., they described a very loud bang, a very loud noise followed by a scream. We came to the belief through the work that was done that there was likely going to be a female inside the residence with the suspect, and likely to be his mother. We used the department's robot to breach the front door, and that way we would allow access to go in and give us further options in trying to put a stop to what had happened that night. The robot was successfully able to breach the front door, and the robot entered the residence shortly thereafter. At 2 a.m., there is a broadcast over the radio from one of our officers stating he's got a hostage, he's coming out toward the front door. And moments later, the suspect exited the front door with a female directly in front of him, and a SWAT officer fired 1 shot. And at that time, the SWAT rescue team moved up shortly thereafter to remove the female from that immediate scene and to an area of safety. And the suspect was pronounced deceased a short time later from that gunshot. What we were made aware of the night of the incident was the possibility that the suspect had in fact left his firearm inside the residence prior to exiting. The district attorney and I both went and watched the videos in the tactical vehicles, and watching them on a very small screen, you cannot definitively tell whether or not the suspect was still in possession of a firearm. What we know and discovered in the investigation following was that the suspect had in fact left the firearm inside the residence on the floor prior to exiting the house. There are multiple investigations going on right now, both a criminal investigation with the Travis County District Attorney's Office along with the Austin Police Department's SIU unit. We will also have an administrative investigation by the APD Internal Affairs unit with involvement from the Office of the Police Monitor. The 2 officers who are injured are currently off duty on injury leave, and the 2 officers who fired their weapons in this incident are currently on administrative leave, as is our standard practice while these investigations are underway. The deceased in this incident has been named is Hugo Rene Alvarez, a Hispanic male, date of birth 7/2 of 1989.
I want to announce to the community that the District Attorney's Civil Rights Unit will present this case to a Travis County grand jury. We are presenting this case, I want to emphasize, not because I have concluded that we have evidence yet that an offense has been committed. Rather, it fits the criteria that I announced to this community at the beginning of my term, that we would present cases when we felt there was a situation that required further development of the evidence, and that the grand jury was the appropriate place to do that investigation. So again, we have not concluded that an offense has been committed here, but we do think it is appropriate for the grand jury to have all of the facts presented to them.